Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by BetMGM, with myself, Andrew Mount and Dave Young, to look ahead to yet another top-notch weekend of action. We were treated last weekend, weren't we, at Cheltenham with a stellar card, and we have more to go at this weekend because, of course, it is Grade 1 Scilly Isles Day at Sandown. We also have the Dublin Racing Festival at Leopardstown, and not forgetting Cheltenham Trials Weekend at Musselburgh as well. Now, Andrew had an almost brilliant time with things at last weekend. His nap going down by just a nose forward plan at 11-1. And Andrew said himself that he had that in a double with Elixir de Nuts. So a bit of a stinger for Andrew, but also congratulations at the same time, Mr. Mount, all the same.
Don't rub it in.
Yo, I just thought I'd better bring it back up again, open those old wounds and make you more fired up for this weekend. Something along those lines. Right, we had better begin, though, with this weekend's action. And we start at Sandown with a 0-125 novices handicap hurdle for 4-year-olds and over 2 mile 4 at 125. Nikki Henderson has the 2-1 market leader here in Jinko Blue on its handicap debut. So, Dave, kick us off, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's good to be back. We've got some seriously good action. Obviously, it's Dublin Racing Festival, but like you touched on, Scilly Isles Grade 1 over here. Oh, I can't wait to go into that race. One of them is going to run them silly in that race. Before we get there, though, right, this 0-125 handicap hurdle, I normally revise the band, don't I, because we don't meet the top end of it, but we're pretty close to it this time round. I do, however, take issue with the 2 towards the head of the market. Jinko Blue hasn't been seen since early December. I don't think his form looks that good. Doesn't look like he's got loads in hand, but you would probably expect it being a Hendo horse. He probably has. 2-1 just doesn't excite me in the slightest. And then Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden have got 1-3-5 not out, who's an 8-year-old now. Again, you would have thought this horse would be much better than 1-1-8, but hasn't really shown that yet, and must have had some sort of issues. So it's not one that I'm like overly keen on in this race, but I do think I found a bet. And I think I can make my case for Magical King, who's about a 9-1 shot top price at the time of recording. Has an £8 swing with Classic Anthem, who's in this race as well. But those two met over 2 miles on heavy ground. Magical King had not raced at 2 miles prior to that, had been at the middle distance. I think the key thing with this horse is the ground, right? The last couple of times he's run has been on really slow ground. He does look a little bit novice. He is only a bit like a baby in his races, doesn't jump that great, and he was a little bit outpaced in that 2 mile race, albeit on heavy ground. But you go back to his second start, I think he got an RPI of 119. Form of that race looks all right. He was behind Josh the Bosch, was 2 lengths behind that off of levels. That horse is rated 128 now, was running pretty well when unseated in the Winter Novices Hurdle here. That's a grade 2, albeit in name, not necessarily nature. So I think there's enough to suggest that Magical King could be worth going at the prices.
Oh, like it a lot, definitely so. 9-1 for Magical King at the time of recording as well. For Dave, Andrew, how are you playing this opener?
Yeah, tricky race. Previous winners, I should say, will start at 7-1 or shorter, so the market usually gets it right. First thing I do is try to get the favourite beats, and but you look at Jinko Blue, you think, well, he was chinned at odds on in his hurdles debut, but he was very green that day, and the horse who beat him, I think, is rated 130. And then last time out when he won, albeit narrowly, the ones who finished second and third are now rated 129 and 127. One of those running a good race in the Challow Hurdle, finishing fifth, being 8 or 9 lengths. So off a mark of 124, there is an argument that he's actually well handicapped. So I wouldn't be rushing to to lay the smithereens out of him. But I'm going to side with Classic Anthem, despite getting this horse wrong every time he runs, pretty much. I wrote him up after he finished fifth in the Kempton Bumper last season. Did really well that day on the front end when it was set up for the closers who challenged wide. He was prominent more towards the inside rail. Bet him the next twice. Beaten. He then came back from wind surgery to win here at Sandown on heavy ground, and then last time out beaten at odds on, albeit only by a neck at Plumpton. Back at Sandown on ground, they're calling, I think, sort of soft, good to soft in places, but it's Sandown, so it's probably heavy because they've watered the smithereens out of it for the last 16 years. So yeah, I'll go Classic Anthem, but it wasn't a race I was usually keen on having a bet in.
No, but Classic Anthem, those 7-1 in here, still a nice price all the same. Now we head north to Musselburgh for the Frodon Novices Limited Handicap Chase for 5-year-olds and over 2 mile 4 at 140. And the same trainer as the race's namesake, Paul Nicholls, has the 5-2 favourite in here with Monmoral. But Andrew, who are you siding with?
Come on, say it properly. You said it properly in the pre-production meeting, Musselburgh.
Musselburgh.
you have to say it in the
Musselburgh and
Gordon,
Haddock, my two
you have to say
favourite
it,
tracks.
I've said it in the Gordon Balloon accent. So yeah, tricky one, this one. I mean, Monmoral was obviously well supported on his return from a wind operation at Cheltenham last time. Only finished 7th to Fugitive in the December Gold Cup. So yeah, difficult to know where we stand with him. The one I sort of was looking at was perhaps Glory and Honour, who may have gone under the radar a little bit, being trained by Sam England. But my goodness, this one's been consistent since joining her from David O'Mara. I mean, it's interesting one here. This run over hurdles for O'Mara was owned by the Horse Watchers, and signed off for David O'Mara with a win at Wolverhampton over 2 miles on the all-weather. Since joining Sam England, first, second, first. Last time out winning at 14-1. At Doncaster, and likes to come from off the pace. Hopefully there'll be a little bit of a gallop to chase despite the small field. And I thought, probably given the connections, is a bigger price than he should be. So I'll just go Glory and Honour.
9-1 for a really consistent type as well. So yeah, one that has gone under the radar somewhat there at dear old Musselburgh. Right, back to Sandown for handicap chase. 5 runs and over a mile 7 at 2 o'clock. In Excelsis Deo, great him. 2-1 favourite. So Dave, does the Holy Horse win here?
Very much could do. This is a real hard one. I think the case that Andrew made for the his selection in the first race gives us a good 2 darts in there. There are 5 runners. I think we probably do need at least 2 darts in this one, though. In Excelsis Deo, or however we're supposed to say it, just can't really jump, can he? And when you're coming to a track like Sandown, we obviously always think about the railway fences, but there's plenty of hard fences to jump there full stop. That is not ideal. However, does run so much better than his official rating. I think he's 133. Like, definitely deserves to be favourite. Would be a very strong bet if I could trust that the horse is jumping, getting better. But it doesn't seem to be. I've watched replay after replay, trying to urge myself to see some sort of improvement in there. I can't trust that he's not going to throw in a couple of howlers. So that's a worry. Saint Segal's in there as well, becoming the ultimate cliff horse. Our very own Matty Sutcliffe is diving off that cliff week in, week out, and understandably so. But again, he has fallen this season. Jumping hasn't been the greatest. Does look like he's right up there, though. So has got a proper chance. But like I say, jumping around Sandown's a worry. Harper's Brook does jump well, but every time he goes out in front, he just throws the race away. He did it here, maybe not even 12 months ago, but he's done it here before when he was miles clear and idled up the run-in. So that's obviously a concern. Red Rookie looks to be a shadow of his former self, despite being £3 lower than his last winning handicap mark. And then Sacré-Cœur just wouldn't have the level of form in it, but is priced obviously on the fact that there are conditions with the other ones not to like. So I've waffled a lot about the 5 runners. If it had to be forced to have a bet, I think In Excelsis Deo is the right favourite, but doesn't jump very well. If you asked me in about 2 minutes, I'd probably say that I fancy Saint Segal. So for that reason, I'm out.
So they've got the 2 holy horses, actually. I said about just In Excelsis Deo being the holy horse. We've got 2 at the head of the market, but none of the horses in here, Andrew, as Dave has just been saying, they haven't been all that Christian to punters so far. So it's going to be a bit of ironic naming in this one.
Yeah, I hope Saint Segal can polish his halo and take this.
Nice.
After he got chinned by First Flow at Lingfield a couple of weeks ago, I had a long chat with Chester Williams about him, and he's saying basically, Chester Williams, of course, being Jane Williams' son, former jockey and now assistant trainer to the yard. He's basically saying, he needs to win. He hasn't won as often as he should. He was unlucky against Boot Hill. He looked to have that one's measure when coming down because of Ascot. And stiff 2 miles, absolutely ideal for him. He does thrive on his racing. According to Chester, he needs his racing, so he's likely to improve as the season goes on. They were talking about going straight to Cheltenham for the Grand Annual, but what you get for that, 70 grand or something for winning that? You've got to beat 20 odd horses. Come here and beat 4, and you get 26,000 quid. So it seems like a sensible move. Longer term, they mentioned the Paddy Power Gold Cup next season, which would be interesting, putting him up in trip. But at this stage of his career, they think a stiff 2 miles is ideal. So I'll go Saint Segal. Sandown's fences don't take a lot of jumping, as some people think. I mean, we went, I think, something like 15 years without a faller at the last fence, other than in sort of hunter chases or grand military races. And so although his jumping has given him cause for concern in the past, I'll go Saint Segal to fall the first. To win.
Either way, you made the prediction there at Sandown for that really interesting little handicap chase. Now, a proper staying handicap chase in the form of the 0 to 150 Edinburgh National handicap chase, 5 rods and over, 3 miles 7 at 215, 6 to 1 joint favourites at the head of the market. So, Andrew, the Edinburgh at Musselburgh, who wins?
I'm going to go with Magna Sam, last year's winner, trained by Shropshire-based Alistair Ralph. And it's funny because he won this race last year, and I think going into that race he was unbeaten at this track, and he changed yards, and you think, well, why is he coming all the way up here for his stable debut from Shropshire if he's not fit? He's been off the track since May, and he duly won that by 4.5 lengths at 22 to 1. Now, he reappeared at Musselburgh this season, so again you thought, well, why are they bringing him all the way up here after a break if he's not race fit? But he ran as if he needed the run. He was a 13 to 2 shot, but he was weak in the betting legs. It was 2 miles 7.5, which was probably too short. Well, is too short for him, and it was on soft ground as well, which wouldn't have been ideal. So, I mean, if you could choose the ground, you'd sort of go good to soft or even good. So, I think coming back to this race, £4 higher than last year, having won it comfortably, he's probably worth a bit of an interest. The other interesting one was if I've had Brandy McQueen, who was a big eye catcher last season in the Per Thames final, finishing 7th. It was a huge price that day, 80 to 1. I actually bet him to finish in the top 6, so shows how good a judge I am. So really gutting to see him run so well at a big price, but not hit that spot. First time out, I left him alone at Kelso, thinking he needed the experience on his chase debut, and he duly won by 19 lengths at 5 to 1. And he's been beaten the next twice, but I just thought this race might prove to be ideal for him. He does tend to come good at this time of year as well. So Brandy McQueen, I thought could run a big race as well. He's got a good record at the track as well, and he's 20 to 1, which seems slightly insulting. Brian Hughes on, not the advantage that a lot of people would say it is for me. But yeah, I'll save on him. But the main play will be Magna Sam, last year's winner.
Last year's winner, Brandy McQueen, is 20 to 1, as you just say, and last year's winner, Magna Sam, 15 to 2 currently. I actually thought this was a really likeable renewal of this race. Chances obviously can be given to plenty in here, and I was really struggling to narrow it down. Of course, Landon Cooling has evident claims, as does the Charles Burns runner Temptation in Milan, so I'm interested to watch what the price does there. But I thought at a bigger price, now 18, when he opened up with Dex, he's 7 to 1. I was like, that surely can't be right. Luckily he's 18 now. Christopher Wood, he has been constantly pushed out since that opening show, which I'm pleased to see about. But I'm really interested to see what he can do in this. Now, of course, the Venetia Williams team at the minute, their form is just slightly waning somewhat, but I'm intrigued to see what he can do over an extreme trip. He tries a marathon test for the first time, but he is a proper stayer on the flats, as we know. And the way that he shaped on his sole start this season was that of a horse who wanted much further. Now, it was only over 2 mile 5, admittedly, at Carlisle, but he hasn't actually won. Since this meeting, though, in 2021, Scottish County Hurdle when trained by Paul Nicholls. Now, he hasn't won, obviously, from his 5 starts over fences, but he's way down the weights as a result of that, rated 129, £11 lower than his hurdle mark. He's well treated. And if he really does want this test nowadays around a track he likes, and I thought at that bigger price, he might just be worth a little bit of a squeak. But I am interested what Temptation in Milan's price does as well. Right, Sandown's feature race now. The Grade 1 Scilly Isles Novices Chase of 5 rods and over 2 mile 4 at 235. Hermes, your 11 to 8 favourite. But Dave, how are you playing the race?
This is a proper decent race. Just before we get on to this one, you mentioning Christopher Wood there brings up terrible memories of when Penton Hills won the juvenile at Aintree. I can't believe he's still going.
Yeah.
Right. Horses that are still going now. This Scilly Isles, right? I just need to touch on this right just to get it out of my system. Haven't been speaking to too many people today, so I'm sorry that I've got to unload this onto you. But all the talk about horses dodging meetings and not having their optimum conditions, and you can go across on a boat to Ireland to pick up races. Why did Willie Mullins not even give Gaelic Warrior an entry in this? It's right-handed, it's 2.5 miles, and it's a Grade 1. Obviously, Corbett's Cross was entered for Emmett Mullins. For some reason, wasn't declared. But regardless of all of those things, we do have an absolute weapon in this race. Hermes Allen is going to absolutely bolt up in this. I think he is a proper Grade 1 horse. That run behind Ile Francais at Kempton, that was his first try at 3 miles. It was his first time right-handed. And it also wasn't his first choice of race. Napa's Hill was supposed to go there, and then Hermes Allen sort of just fell in and filled the gap. So he wouldn't have been trained to the minute for that. They did talk about this race, though, after he won the John Francombe. This will have been a target. He will be further forward than he was in that Kempton run. And we know how big a hype job there is around this Ile Francais, how good a horse he is. Hermes Allen was up there with him for the majority of the race. So I think he is a clear Grade 1 novice chaser. I'm not sure what they're going to do in terms of Cheltenham, whether they will go to the Turners, because obviously Gillian's Destiny now has thrown his hat into the ring. Maybe they'll keep Hermes for Aintree. I want to see the clash. I want to see him against Gaelic Warrior in March. For that to happen, I think Hermes Allen's going to have to absolutely bolt up here, but I do expect that to happen anyway. I know on official ratings, Jello's the same as him. I think the Patron's maybe £1 higher, Colonel Harry's £1 lower, but none of those horses have reached the RPRs that Hermes Allen's done on his 2 starts over fences. And as I touched on, that last run I don't think was optimum for him. The ground was ideal, but stepping up to 3 miles for the first time, which he may get in time, isn't what he needs right now. This race is tailor-made for him. I can't believe he's 6-4. Get stuck in. Hermes Allen bolts up.
Oh, confidence has been renewed from day. We always like that, and it's certainly the case here with Hermes Allen. Andrew, you're going to further bolster it?
After he finished second to Ile Francais, I thought I want to back Hermes Allen wherever he runs next. And then I saw they entered him over this trip at Sandown. And will the track suit? Now, there was discussion on another podcast earlier this week. I won't say Nick Lux because we don't name chat. I'll just call him the Posh Kids podcast. So the Posh Kids podcast, there was mention from Paul Nicholls that Hermes Allen was better on flat tracks and they'd be avoiding Cheltenham to go to Aintree. And you look at his form and you think, well, let's have a look at his top 5 RPRs, his rating post ratings. The best 2, but best 3 have come at Newbury twice and at Kempton. Also at Aintree when he was 3rd, and then one at Cheltenham where he won on the old course a couple of years ago, beating Music Drive of Gordon Elliott's, who's rated like 127 or something like that. It's clearly no world beater. He's also won at Stratford, another flat track. So, when the trainer tells you that he's worried about undulating tracks and he's 6-4 favourite for a Grade 1 at Sandown, you think, well, I can let him win on back to that sort of price. So, despite wanting to be with him after that excellent Kempton run, I'm a little bit concerned. J-Lo, again, I'm sort of not usually keen on siding with after that fall at Lingfield last time out. So, Colonel Harry, I mentioned before he ran at Wetherby that he's every time he's been beaten, he's bounced back to win. So if there is a bit of an octo pattern to his form, then maybe he's going to struggle here and take a backward step. So I'll just go Le Patron for Gary Moore, inform yard, and a horse who likes his track clearly. So yeah, Le Patron is sporting bet against Hermes Allen.
I'm going to join you with that sporting bet. Sorry, Dave. After how convincing you were as well and how confident you are about Hermes Allen, I also have to side with Le Patron at those prices. Probably a little bit more than sporting than Andrew. So I'm kind of bridging the middle ground here. But yeah, of course, the winner of the Grade 1 Henry VIII Novices last time out. Now, that was over 2 miles, where I think that many people would have taken the judgment that he probably just took to the heavy conditions better than his rivals. But for me, Colonel Harry, who reopposes here, he's a proper soft ground performer. He's a far more exaggerated knee action than Le Patron anyway. So I don't really buy into that theory. Now, of course, he was a bit of a shock winner at 16-1. Not for our very own Matty Sutcliffe, of course. I think he napped him, didn't he? But in this, I think that the better ground might just suit him because his 2 wins prior to that over fences came on good and then good soft over this course and distance. Now, I know the form line between Hermes Allen, Ile Francais, it may well be standout, but then it's the horses in behind you do just start to question. Kilbeg King, who was only 3 lengths behind Hermes Allen, probably wasn't all out to the line, admittedly, might just make you question the form somewhat rather than Le Patron. Highest rated horse in the race, Colonel Harry, JPR1, winning Grade 2 since that, makes that form look probably all around that bit stronger, taking out obviously Ile Francais being probably the most exciting novice chaser in Europe at the minute. But I like the fact that the freshen up since that Grade 1 success last time out. So the Patron for me as well. Right, Andrew, Dave and I all butting heads then in this one. It's going to be fascinating to see how that Grade 1 plays out. Now, more Cheltenham trials action up now from Musselburgh in the form of the 0-145 Scottish County Handicap Hurdle, 4 odds and over just shy of 2 miles. Now, this is another each way plus race with BetMGM, as was the 215, I should have said as well. 1, 2, 3, 4 places on offer. Andrew, how are you playing it?
Yeah, tricky. Normally, my bet when Benson runs in a race is to back Benson each way. Certainly, as long as I can get 4 places, because he's generally out of that position. He duly won here last time out, making all. I mean, he's a horse with a reputation for liking to come from off the pace, but he went from the front last time out. He's now 2 from 2 at the track. I've not looked at the pace map, so I'm not entirely sure how he's going to be ridden, but I thought he's going to give us a run for our money. Sandy Thompson's not perhaps had the season that you'd expect, given how well his horses normally do in the depths of winter, but over the last sort of, over the course of his career, you back them blind in November, December, January, February, you make a profit. He did have the Ferry Master finish second at 16 to 1 the other day, but he's gone a month without a winner. So maybe like to see sort of a couple more run well from the yard in the next couple of days before sort of backing this one at 5 to 1. And first impression, I thought would run as usual, solid race for the Quinn yard. John Quinn's name, of course, now appearing on the licence. Our William Racing Radio colleague, Kate. So I'll go Benson. I'm just a little bit worried about the form of the yard.
Yeah, Benson, he's such a character, isn't he? As are so many of the horses from that family. 5 to 1 at the head of the market there for the Scottish County Handicap Hurdle. Right now, we head to Leopardstown for the Glencullen Handicap Hurdle, listed handicap hurdle, 0 to 150 contest, 4-year-olds and over 3 miles and half a furlong at 3 o'clock. So, Dave, the market's done a bit of flip-flopping since declarations. Who are you siding with?
Well, there's one that I do really like. I liked him after his last one. It was on my radar for this race. So I'm glad that they've declared. I'm glad with the price. And I'm also glad that there's extended places galore. Do we know how many BetMGM are doing? Because I can see as high as 7 with one firm.
6 each way plus race, 5th of the odds.
6 is massive, right? So I'll talk about obviously the one that I fancy in here as well, but just to touch on a couple towards the top of the market. Fine Margin was entered in the next race that we're going to cover as well, the 310 at Sandown. I think maybe off just like a £3 higher mark. I'm a bit confused with Willie Mullins why he's opted for what looks a much harder option in Ireland. Maybe that means that he's got loads up his sleeve and he thinks he's going to absolutely bolt up, because that run at Haydock looked pretty good. We obviously lost Late Lane, but Fine Margin looked like after the first run for Willie Mullins will go plenty to win. But I only really like Willie Mullins handicappers when Paul Townend's on, especially when they're towards the head of the market. I know that doesn't always mean that they're going to win, but I don't know. There's something about this Fine Margin that I liked if he did run at Sandown, but I don't like him over there. So that's a bit stupid to say. Canal End with a real eye catcher over 2 miles, stepped up in trip in the race where I've got something that I fancy. Stayed on nicely, was well supported, but it was really bad testing ground that day. You can see why he's likeable and towards the market where he is. But Will Do is the selection for Gordon Elliott and Jack Kennedy, who was in that race. He was in front of Canal End until they jumped the last, and then a couple of strides after Canal End went past. But Willie Mullins had a horse that day that Paul Townend was on, and it was well clear of these. I would suggest, if you watch the replay, that Jack Kennedy realised the one in front had bolted, and then when Canal End went past, he thought, I'm just going to get passed by a few more horses. Let's just ease off and give this horse an easy time, because it was testing conditions. It's not going to be as testing this time round. That horse was sent off 11 to 4. Canal End was sent off 5 to 2. Will Do is currently a top price 14 to 1 at recording, whilst Canal End is just 6 to 1. So I do not see how this horse is out the frame. Even that day when Jack eased him down, he was still within these place terms. He would have been in the top 6. So I think that Will Do was a bit of an eye catcher. I think he was plotted for this particular race. And Gigginstown have won it in the past. Gordon Elliott, Jack Kennedy, I think it was Dallas to Pictons. So Will Do for me.
14 to 1 for Will Do. When do you ever see a Gordon Elliott, Jack Kennedy horse at a meeting like this? It's a 14 to 1 shot. So like it a lot. Will Do for Dave. Andrew, you've got a million places to go at. How are you playing it?
Yeah, I'll give you the full-time scores. Fame and Glory 4, Walk in the Park 3. So Walk in the Park and Fame and Glory both well represented in this race. Now, as you know, I like Fame and Glory jumpers as they get older. They tend to peak from the age of 8. Home by the League completely turned his career around when he hit 8. And one of those Dave selected as a Fame and Glory, a 7-year-old. My only concern with Will Do is that he's only ever won when favourite. He's only ever won in fields of 8 or fewer runners when dominating. So I've not looked at the pace map yet. So I'm not sure whether he'll be able to get sort of relatively comfortable time with things on the front end. But there's another Fame and Glory at a much bigger price who I want to side with, and that's Molly's Glory, number 23 on the race card, 50s from 66, the prices I'm looking at. Now, I mean, she annoyed me by winning as a 7-year-old. Sorry, no, she won as last start at 8. That was at Thurles in the maiden hurdle on the 23rd of November. She's obviously a sort of slow, a slow burner, like a lot of Fame and Glories are, and that was on yielding to soft ground. Now, she won despite jumping out to her left on the right-handed track. Since then, she's had she's been declared twice, but it's been scratched because of soft ground. So I thought going left-handed on better ground, as she's turned 9 now, she might actually, find a bit of improvement. Most people would dismiss it because she's had umpteen runs, but that's typical of the sire. So yeah, Molly's Glory, 50-1, sporting each way bet.
Oh, I'm so pleased about that. I knew her when she was a baby, Molly's Glory.
Oh,
We used to own a share in her before she was sold. She's actually named after our friend's daughter, Molly. Well, not so much of a baby Molly now, but Molly's Glory now a 9-year-old. Yeah, she's a hardy so-and-so. She used to not be able to go into a stable. You couldn't put her in a stable. She would just climb out, bash the door down, get out of the way. She had to live in a field. So I don't know if she's copped on now, but she's hardy. She can take the runs for sure. Cool. Right, 50-1 as well. Like that shout a lot. Now we're back to Sandown for a premier handicap hurdle for 4-year-olds and over 2 miles 7 at 3:10. Ed Heaper, you're 5-1 favourite. But Andrew, how are you playing this one?
Yeah, this is extremely tricky. There was a couple of interesting ones. Good Luck Charm was one that was I think I put up as a bet for the Lanzarote at Kempton last time. The concern prior to that bet was that she's a front runner in a race where there looked to be plenty of other pace angles despite the big field. She's still running an absolute blinder, finishing 4th at 28-1 for JJ Riley. Now, the winner and the runner-up, JJ Riley and the Nemean Lion, came from off the pace, so I think that was a run worthy of an upgrade. Again, another big field. I've not looked at the pace map of the race, but she's incredibly consistent. Since she's had wind surgery, she's been in the frame in all the completed starts. So I thought she'd go well again, including when a good third at Cheltenham behind Nurse Susan, only beating a couple of lads at 18-1. So she was on the radar. Transmission, we should mention, because of the wonderful recovery from Joe Anderson when steering that one to victory last time out. So that's going to be fascinating to see how he gets on again. I thought Ed Keeper was short enough, given the nature of this race and the fact that we seem to know exactly what how good he is now. I bet him last time. It's slightly disappointing he couldn't win that race. And the other one I'm going to mention at a big price is Gustavian, who has got a really good record in January and February. Slightly disappointed given his market position, a 92 shot, finishing 4th to Phlegmatic Kempton last time out. But I just thought maybe coming back to hurdles from fences. I mean, we've seen so many horses do that successfully in good Saturday handicaps this year. Maybe Gustavian can outrun those odds for around about 25-1. But I'll go Good Luck Charm each way as the main selection.
It's such an annoying name, isn't it? It's just it just grates on me. It doesn't
you just want to say luck instead of Luke. It's like Geronimo and Geronimo.
Yeah, I know. And apparently it is actually Geronimo. Like I've been saying Geronimo this whole time.
Because everyone, that's right. People were saying Geronimo. Then it was it's Geromino, and then it was like no, it's Geronimo. So yeah.
I know, so we were all wrong, and he's how old now, the horse as well. But yeah, true. 25-1 Gustavian is one of the biggest prices of those, and this is an each way plus race as well. 1, 2, 3, 4 places on offer. So BetMGM being very generous with these each way plus races. And Dave, you're going to utilize that as well?
Definitely. And you said there's only a couple that are bigger. I'm going for one that's bigger. Also one that falls into the line of the Geronimo because it's Hermino. I've basically got a flow chart for these types of races this time of the season. Is there one I fancy towards the head of the market? If it says no. Is Hermino running? Yes. Has Hermino won a race yet? No. Then it's just bet. I do think this horse is definitely better than his mark. I put him up in the Lanzarote last time and he was pretty awful, to be fair. But the run prior, when it was back at 3 miles, looked like that was sort of unlocking a bit in the horse. This is a step up in class as well, which is why he's still the big price that he is. But the trip is better as far as I'm concerned. I'm sort of clinging on to that a little bit. Now, it's interesting as well with that race at Cheltenham, right? It was in December, but there was a few horses that ran in there. So White Rhino won, got beat as a favourite the next time out, still ran okay, but ran below the effort of that race at Cheltenham. Bold Endeavour was the same next time out, didn't quite run to the same level. And then name, whatever it was.
Guyanyami.
Yeah, that ran below par after. So I think sometimes you do see this, right? There will be a race where you can potentially say they were all overrated, or it doesn't look quite as good in hindsight, or there can be races that took a little bit out of the horses, left a little bit of a mark. I just think that Hermino, when he's this sort of price, I still think he's definitely better than his mark. I'm not really sure what's going on with him. Whether this has been plotted or planned, I don't really know. Like I say, it's stepping up in class. It may just be that they're having a season this year back over hurdles with a view to go chasing again next term. But it's a competitive enough looking race. I can't really make a strong case for anything towards the head of the market being well handicapped, but I know that Hermino definitely is. And at one point, it's going to win. So at 33 to 1, I'll keep betting him. And then on the 34th start, if he comes good, we'll be level stakes. So Hermino once again.
Once again, I was with him in the Lanzarote last time out as well. So if he goes in here at 33 to 1, I will be slightly sick, but delighted for you at the same time. Perhaps not on equal measures, but you know. Now we have the big one at Leopardstown, of course. This is the Grade 1 Irish Gold Cup for 5-year-olds and over 3 miles. This comes up at 3:35. Galopin Des Champs, understandably so, a very hot favourite. But Dave, 4 runners, are you a backer or a layer of Galopin?
Probably neither at this point. I'm still flabbergasted that he was sent off 6 to 4 in that last race.
That wasn't the question. Are you a backer or a layer?
Yeah. Go on, you
You sound like a politician.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I'm still flabbergasted he went off such a big price in that last one. But like in this instance, I would be a backer. Like I think the 4 to 9 top price about him, I only see that getting shorter. I do understand that his Achilles heel fast or slows in him. It's the 3rd time they've come up against each other. But the last time they came up against each other this season wasn't Galopin Des Champs' best performance. I appreciate it was right up there, and we saw what he's run like since. This is not necessarily optimum conditions for Galopin Des Champs, but he showed at Christmas what he can do round here. Fast or slow, the trainers come out and said that obviously he'll improve for this for Cheltenham in the Gold Cup. That's like their big target. But there's obviously, we thought all this same before every time Fast or Slow goes up against him. So I do like Galopin Des Champs. I'm hoping we just see the same as we saw at Christmas with another potentially career high performance where he just looks more and more established, because he still is relatively only a baby. And then I just want to see him be the absolute beast that he is. So I can't think of anything other than Galopin Des Champs routing these. I do think the 4 to 9 isn't terrible in the grand scheme of everything, but time to bet him this season was last time out. So sorry that it's after timing, but sit back, watch, and enjoy the legend that is Galopin Des Champs. Hopefully just hose up again.
Backer then is Dave of Galopin, and 4 to 9, probably not a bad price. It was 4 to 11, 4 to 9, 1 to 2, now back to 4 to 9 again. So Andrew, same question posed to you, backer or layer?
I'd be a backer, and I'd be against Fast or Slow in the forecast or without the favourite market as well. I know he's winning 2-1 when it comes to clashes with Galopin Des Champs, but I've got him down more as a spring horse. Because go back to 2022, he was short-headed in the Coral Cup at 18 to 1, and then went to Aintree and finished second in another big field handicap. And then, of course, last season, in the spring, he went to Cheltenham. He's just got chinned by Corash Rambler, the subsequent Grand National winner, and then he's gone to Punchestown and won. Now, I know he won first time out in November this season, but Galopin Des Champs is below par, jumped like a hairy pig. And I think the race just fell apart a little bit. You look at the balance of his form. He's a spring horse. He's never won in the sort of, December, January, February period. So I just don't think he's going to be at his best. And, they missed that intended engagement on Boxing Day. He hasn't run since late November. I think they're going to be, it's all systems for Cheltenham to try and beat Galopin Des Champs there. So I don't think he's going to be at his best here. So I think the bet is 2 forecasts: Galopin Des Champs to beat Conflated and Galopin Des Champs to beat Iron Maximus, the other 2 runners in the race.
Okay, like it a lot. Different ways to play this from betting perspective then for Andrew as well. Not necessarily the conventional route that most people are playing, seeing the race and as it is priced up then accordingly also. But really looking forward to seeing that and these two butting heads again. Now, we sign off this section of the show back at Sandown with a handicap chase of 5 rods and over 3 miles at 3:45. So, Andrew, who wins?
It's a very good question. I'm just going to waffle until my page reloads.
No one notices a thing.
Badger Beer winner, Blackjack Magic has been all the rage since the declarations were confirmed this morning. I think he's now 7-2 from 6-1. He got beaten by Victorino at Ascot after that Badger Beers run, but that probably came a little, perhaps came a little bit too soon. He does seem. Or the ground, I should say, was too quick that day. He likes a bit of dig in the ground. It was officially good at Ascot. He's had 6 weeks to get over that. I thought he'd run a good race. Dom of Mary came good last time out, but does he need a sort of sharper track, sort of Plumpton Fontwell kind of form? And you go through it. So I thought Blackjack Magic was, fair enough if you want to side with them. But I'll go Fortescue, who is a horse I always back in field with 11 or fewer runners. He does tend to struggle when there's a massive field. And you look at his record right-handed, he rarely gets to go this way around. But the last time he did, he was a winner at Ascot off a mark of 143. He's £6 lower this time round. His previous right-handed run before that, he was a winner at Perth off 134, a winner at Sandown, by a wide margin. And you go through his form, and I think he's won 4 of his last 5 starts right-handed. In fact, 4 from 5 other fences this way round. Smallish field ideal. The defeat right-handed came in a field of 18 at Exeter. As I mentioned, he doesn't seem to handle traffic. He's got some shocking form figures when he's had a field of sort of 12 or more runners. So a smallish field, right-handed. I think this is ideal. He's 12-1. I thought each way he's going to be hard to keep out the first 3.
Back over a course and distance that he likes as well. 12-1, I should say, for Fortescue. 10-year-old in here. But Dave, to be fair now, we're saying a 10-year-old in here. There's a whole load of old uns in this one. So, he's not exactly taking on plenty of young legs in here. But who did you like?
Yeah, so I feel like I've got a similar handle on this as Andrew has. So we probably need to mark this date in the calendar that we're in relative agreement, not Fortescue, but Blackjack Magic does, I think, warrant his place in the market. And I don't think you'd scream to say that he's a terribly short price. Probably still looks like he's a bettable price. So I will have a winder on Blackjack Magic, but for all that I do think he's got a favourites chance, I do want to have a little bit of cover. And the one that I've got to have cover on is Fullback. He's a bit of an older horse as well. I think he's 9 now, but we haven't seen him so much recently, although we did see him in the Fleur de Lis a couple of weeks ago. Now, that type of race, he was well and truly outclassed. He fell early on. I wonder whether this quick turnaround just suggests that he needs a run like this as a prep, because obviously if he fell after 5 fences, didn't get his full day out, would they actually be running him here? Such a short turnaround after. But he is down to a mark of 133. He peaked at 140. He ran off that mark in an Ultima. That was the first Ultima that Karat Rambler won, albeit he was well down the field. We didn't run again after that. Ran a couple of times at the beginning of last season and just didn't look that good. But the last time he did run at that last season, he was sent off 15-8 favourite off 137. So his mark is definitely low enough for him to be able to do himself justice. He just, something in the back of my head just says that he might be the type of horse that they'll go back for an Ultima with him. But I know he's entered in the Haydock Grand National trial in February. Now we know how they've reduced the band for the runners for the Grand National. If they're thinking of actually trying to get him in there, he's gonna have to win some races. So there's just a nagging doubt in the back of my mind that this is like a prep for something, but at the same time, it may be that they're just ready to win a race with him. And I just don't think if this horse is anywhere near back to any sort of level of form that he's shown before, I don't see how they could stop him potentially winning the race. He's as big as 16-1. So I'll just go for 2 win darts, Blackjack Magic and Fullback.
16-1 Fullback, Blackjack Magic 7-2. So different ways to play that one for a day, but happy to allow you the 2 darters for that one. Now, that is the end of our scheduled races. So you know the drill by now. It gives us an opportunity to look ahead to the Cheltenham Festival and potential Cheltenham angles we might be getting from this weekend or anywhere else either. So Dave, I'll go back to you, please. Cheltenham chat.
Oh, there's an abundance of in there. It's Dublin Racing Festival, so there are grade ones galore. I think they've got maybe 5 grade ones over the 2 days there. We've obviously talked about one of them there with Galopin Des Champs. We won't get too many clues in terms of Cheltenham from that one, but there's loads of decent novice hurdles, juveniles going on over there as well. So my best advice for that is, not that you need to be told, but just watch all the racing this weekend. Willie Mullins, we know, is farm stuff there. There's going to be some markets that move. Facile Vega has finally been declared in the Arkle trial to go against Marine National. I would say in the day and age that we live in, right, where everyone's got an opinion, which is fine, people voice it a little bit more than they should. And I think if you went back 5 years ago, no one would be expecting Facile Vega to be stepping up in trip after one run you could just put a line through, given the fact he was buying favouritism for it. It will be fascinating to see how those two clash and how they get on. But in terms of looking forward to Cheltenham, I think there's more value in waiting. But I will just say again, fullback, I think, could be going to the Ultima. So fullback for the Ultima you want to get stuck into. Other than that, sit back, watch, and show a bit of patience.
I didn't expect that from you. I didn't know which way this was going to go, but that is the measure of the man and the patience that Dave is exuding nowadays. Though we've got the DRF, perhaps not too many angles then ahead to Cheltenham at this stage with the prices that they currently are. Then, Andrew, did you have any other way into Cheltenham Festival and post markets before this weekend?
I think, well, maybe after this weekend, if Fast or Slow does not run to market expectations in the big race at Leopardstown by not finishing second or beating Galopin Des Champs, perhaps finishing third or fourth, beating sort of 10, 15, 20 lengths, then I would still be interested in his Gold Cup chances, given my spring horse theory.
Oh, okay. Yeah, as Andrew just takes a moment just to have a cough there, but he's not feeling 100% at the minute, so we will allow him this time. But that's interesting though. At least he managed to get the bit out about Fast or Slow. Perhaps if he still gets stuff this weekend, he could well get pushed out, but don't underestimate him then coming to the Gold Cup because of that spring factor. Andrew, are you alive?
Just about. I'd also mention Brandy McQueen, having run so well in the Per Temps final last year, 7th at 80 to 1. You know, being trained by Harriet Graham and Gary Rutherford, will go under the radar if he runs a big race and then pops up in something like the King Muir. So do look out for that as well.
Like it a lot. Right, there you go. There are your Cheltenham angles for this weekend. So all that is left for me to do is to get your naps. So Andrew, I'll go back to you just in case we lose you again. Your nap of this weekend.
Oh, you've done it again, haven't you? You've come out with that surprise question. So
every time.
What was? I'll go the computer straight forecast. Galopin Des Champs to beat Conflated.
Woohoo! Nicely done. Emitting Fast or Slow there from that forecast. Dave, your nap.
Hermes Allen absolutely, I want to swear, but absolutely wins the Sillies Isles. He bolts up.
You know what? I'm just going to be a menace to you. I'm going to nap in the same race. I'm going to go Le Patron then. I didn't really have too many other strong convictions of anything of any kind of decent price, to be honest with you. So in saving me putting up Galopin Des Champs, I will go Le Patron, and Dave and I will butt heads then with our naps in the Scilly Isles at Sandown. Right, that's everything from us on this week's show. So big thank you to Andrew and today for all of their hard work as per usual. Big thank you to our sponsors BetMGM. A bigger thank you to you at home for watching. Best of luck with your bets this weekend. Enjoy the action as well. It really is top quality everywhere you look. So enjoy it all, and we'll speak to you again next week.